Hello, everybody. Welcome to what I'm calling my Baldur's Gate 3 lore through. So, this is hopefully going to be a series of streams where I basically play through Baldur's Gate 3 and talk about some of the background lore. As someone who has been immersed in Dungeons and Dragons and in, excuse me, particularly the Forgotten Realms setting of D&D, which is where Baldur's Gate is set. So, let us begin. So, as part of this playthrough, um, I'm not going to be doing the new mode that has been released, which is the Honor mode, um, because that's kind of like your Iron Man mode, where basically you can't reload any previous saves, and you also aren't able to continue playing in honor mode should you die. Um, so basically, um, that's not really what I want to do in this particular playthrough. I want to kind of showcase some different parts of the game. I want the flexibility of being able to load and replay through bits. I'm going to go for custom difficulty because the other thing that I don't want to do is get massively stuck. Um, so we're going to be talking through a lot of different elements of the game. I'm going to be talking about some of the background lore of the game, and also as someone who is working within kind of academia and working within particularly philosophy. There's going to be some discussion of some of the more philosophical components of the game. There's a lot of kind of metaphysical things going on in Baldur's Gate 3, particularly with the gods. And also, we're going to be doing some discussion about how the game handles its narrative and some of the different themes going on there. So we're going to do a custom difficulty. We're not going to have a single save. I think we're going to basically have mostly standard things. I think we're going to turn some of this stuff up to tactician, just to have some more interesting things going on. We're going to have easy rests. We allow multi-classing, prompt reactions, yes, absolutely. And let's see, what else can we do? We're going to increase the proficiency bonus, probably all the way, why not? So the reason for that is basically because it's going to make things a bit easier. As I said, this is not going to be a playthrough where it's entirely focused on, challenging myself or trying to play the game in a really difficult way. So let's begin. Okay, so we're not going to reset the tutorials. The opening sequence, lots to unpack within that. So, what we witness, as we will come to understand, is a process of effectively reproduction. So, we witness this tentacled creature, a mind flayer or an illithid, um, basically placing a tadpole in the mind of a character who we are going to meet. And this is, as we will discover, um, basically the way that they reproduce. So the process as intended is that the tadpole, through the process of seromorphosis, transforms you into a mind flayer. So we have some very kind of H.R. Geiger-esque elements to this, very alien, but with additional uh, psychic stuff going on in the background as well. So for this playthrough, I already know what kind of character I'm going to build. So we're going to go for the Dark Urge. Now, the reason we're going to go for a Dark Urge rather than just a straightforward custom is because, for reasons that will become far more clear as we play through the game, the Dark Urge to me feels like one of the more involved ways of playing the game. There are lots of ties to the story that you get as a Dark Urge that you just simply don't get as a custom character. So, I already know that our class is going to be Cleric, and our Cleric domain is going to be Knowledge, because this is a lore through, and I think that's the most appropriate. For our race, I think that I want to go for... Let's see... I've not played a Dragonborn before. Let's go for a Dragonborn. And what colour should we go for? I do think brass looks really cool. Gold is a bit much. Maybe not copper. I think we're going to go for brass. So that's fire. Okay, cool. Right. We're going to go for... Always nice to have guidance. So we're going to go for Sacred Flame, Guidance, and... Do we get Dark Vision as a Dragonborn? We don't. So we're going to go for Light. Yeah, so we're going to go for Knowledge, which gets us Command and Sleep as our domain spells. Let's see. In terms of deity, I mean, the obvious choice is Ogma, who's god of kind of knowledge and patron of bards and scholars. Bahamut would be interesting as well, as Bahamut is the patron deity in the Forgotten Realms of metallic dragons. So within Forgotten Realms you have the division of chromatic dragons, which are black, blue, red, green, and white. And they're associated with Tiamat, this lady here, who is the goddess of evil dragons. Chromatic dragons tend to be evil. Metallic dragons, which are your brass, your copper, your bronze, your silver, and your gold, are associated with Bahamut. And according to some of the lore, Bahamut and Tiamat were originally joined as one god. Another thing to note, and this is a good place to talk about it, is when we're talking about the realms, when we're talking about Forgotten Realms, when we're talking about the lore of Forgotten Realms, there is a lot of different sources and a lot of competing sources, and additionally a lot of changes that happen. And now those changes are particularly between different editions of Dungeons & Dragons, so Forgotten Realms has been running for a very long time. It has moved from 3rd edition through 3.5 into 4th edition, and now we are here with 5th edition. And each time you've had major changes to how the rules work, you've had major changes to the structure of the cosmos, basically. So you've had different gods coming into being, disappearing. You've had entire kind of metaphysical resets where the whole world has been transformed. Magic works differently. So for instance, let me see here, Mystra, the goddess of magic, who is quite important for one of the major companion quests. She was straight up dead throughout the whole of 4th edition, and her death and the subsequent impact that had on Magic was how they explained the transition to a different rule set for how spells worked. She's now back because 5th edition is much closer to 3rd edition in how it handles things like magic. But we're no closer to answering the question as to which god. So let's see. There are some interesting different role-playing options here. I think we just go with Ogma, who is inspiration, invention, sharing knowledge with the world, through his bards and clerics. Unlike many other deities, Ogma accepts all moral alignments into his clergy, which is great. So as we are playing the Dark Urge, our background is set as the Haunted One. We have proficiency in medicine and intimidation. So for our abilities then, let's have a look. I want Wisdom High. We need to change this one because we cannot be playing a Knowledge Cleric that has really low intelligence. So I'm just going to buff that somewhat. I think I'm going to move that there. We don't need Strength. We're not going to be using it. And that's fine. Let's just have a look at some of these. So we've got proficiency in Arcana and History, which are both intelligence, that's good. Insight, which is wisdom. And what's the other one? Religion, which is intelligence. Yeah, that should be fine. Let's go with that. Okay, and for preparing spells, let's just clear these out. So we get Command and we get Sleep. We obviously want some healing. Sanctuary is great. And then, let's see, Guiding Bolt and Bless. As a cleric, we can change these very easily, so that's fine. Right, let's edit our appearance. This is the more interesting part. So we get 4 different faces as Dragonborn. He looks friendly. He looks a bit more wise, though. We'll go with him. So in terms of crest, oh, I haven't made a Dragonborn before. What's this one called? Malefic. So we are playing a Dark Urge, and for those who are not aware of what the Dark Urge is, they're effectively a character who suffers quite significantly with certain kinds of psychological compulsion, particularly towards violence. We will uncover the precise nature and origin of that as we continue through our playthrough. I'm not just going to, I've tagged this stream spoilers because there will be spoilers. We'll be discussing most things very openly, but I'm not just going to go ahead and just throw all of the juicy information in there right at the beginning. We're going to try and do this in a relatively structured way. I like this crest. This is Spinous Crown. Ooh, chins. So much customization that you can do with these. It's not sliders, but it's better in some ways. I like this one. Calcified. I'm not going to spend too long doing this because it's very easy to change your appearance at any point. You can't change your race, but you can change your appearance, you can change your class, and things like that. Change your appearance for free. You can change your class for the low price of 100 gold. We will not be experimenting with the genital options today, though. Let's have a look. So that was the first one. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'm a sucker for a little bit of purple highlighting, so we are definitely going for Brass 4. Right, let's have a look at body art. Okay. I mean, the piercings may not show up super well on this, but I feel like maybe we could have something. Crimson Hilt Dirks? Maybe. Barovia Fangs. Yeah, why not? We'll go for that one. Okay, eyes. Let's see. Ooh. Those were cool. That's really cool. Maybe if we can get a purple that kind of matches our, I think that one's the closest. That kind of matches our highlights. We'll go for that one. Right, makeup. Oh, Yeah, snatched. Absolutely fierce. Right, love that. And tail. Oh, goodness. A tail. We can have no tail, or we can have. Let's see. I think we go for a tail. And I don't know. That's kind of the xenomorph style. We'll go for that. Okay. Now we get to pick our name. Um, let's see. I'm going to call ourselves the Archivist. Have I spelt this word right? It'd be really embarrassing if I haven't. Yes, good, wonderful. So we also get to create our Guardian as part of this. So um, we don't necessarily know what this means, but we're going to create one. So we are going to have um, a male Guardian, um, and they are going to be Githyanki. I'm going to go with that. This hair is not the one. Um, hmm. We need to sort this hair out. Oh no. It's a little bit fresh out of the salon. Um, hmm. Oh dear. Right, let's just. What about this one? Oh, it's a bit Legolas. Hmm. Oh. You know what? We just need something shorter, I think. Why not? That'll do. He's kind of looking it up a little bit, which is a little bit difficult to see. Right, his hair is going to be... That works. Okay. Shall we give him... Let's give him a little beard, why not? That's a bit better. His eyes, yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much for this particular thing, but we've got this Githyanki, who is going to be our guardian. Right, I think we're ready to venture forth.
blood in your head thrums and pounds. That pounding blood obscures who you are. An overwhelming loss of memory. How you ended up amidst these hellish flames is just as hidden. You have nothing in your skull, besides your name and a headache. But you are in danger.
Okay, so, hello in the chat. So, we've woken up, no memory of what happened. So, in this cinematic that we just witnessed, we saw a Mind Flayer or Illithid ship, flying ship, made of organic material, manifest or appear over the city of Baldur's Gate. And it then proceeded to harvest people from the city and bring them onto the ship, putting them in those pods that we saw in the previous cinematic, ready for them to be tadpoled, effectively impregnated by the Mind Flayer parasites that are going to begin the process of seromorphosis. But we were pursued, the Mind Flayer ship was pursued by some Githyanki riding red dragons. We'll talk a lot about the Githyanki over the course of this playthrough, because they are so central to the plot of this game. But basically, the Githyanki are an alien race within Forgotten Realms because they dwell within another plane of existence, that being the astral plane. They come in riding red dragons because of their historical opposition to the Mind Flayers or the Illithid, and that drives the ship away. And now the ship has disappeared and reappeared, God knows where. So, I think we're going to take a deep breath, shake our head, and start anew.
Time to get out of here. And then you can shed light on the dark of the matter of yourself.
Okay.
My head. One day I'll catch a break.
Take a little peridot from that Mind Flayer. Let's have a look at the nursery.
This is the pool that thing came from. The parasite now writhing behind your eye.
Let's investigate the pool and pray for a little bit of guidance. Let's hope we keep rolling that well throughout the rest of the series.
The casing is fragile. The slightest touch could cause it to crumble.
Let's reach towards the pool. Well, we succeeded that Constitution saving throw. Took 3 points of damage. Let's just heal that up over here. But yeah, what we're seeing here is a brine pool where the Mind Flayer tadpoles are kept and nurtured until they are ready to be implanted. So, I mean, if you think about, for example, the film Alien, you have the alien egg that the facehugger is kind of housed in before it begins its process of hatching and then impregnating someone and using their DNA to create a xenomorph. In this, it's kind of similar. The parasite will take elements of whatever race or species is implanted with this, and then will use some of their features to create different forms of Mind Flayer. In this game, we really only get one kind of Mind Flayer that's examined, to my knowledge, which is kind of the standard humanoid Mind Flayer. Okay, let's keep exploring.
Images of goblins, their habits and histories flash into your mind.
So we have a dead goblin, and we're going to take some cash from him. An Eldritch tablet over here.
1,000 years of humanoid history. Elves, dwarves, humans, and more flash behind your eyes.
So, Mind Flayers have a bunch of alien psychic powers. These tablets are one of the ways that they store information, and they are able to just project information into our minds. So, what we are seeing is that they have information here about the standard kind of mortal races of Faerun. They also have some books here, which we can't interact with, but they do exist. So they've been keeping tabs on us.
A schematic of a nautiloid flashes into your mind. Nerves, sinews, as much living being as ship.
So, schematics of a nautiloid. That's the vessel that we are on.
A feeling penetrates your mind. And we're normally one like ourselves, unconnected from the whole. Caution.
So when we're talking about the whole here, what we're talking about is the kind of collective mind of the Mind Flayers. So Mind Flayers and individuality is an interesting kind of philosophical conundrum. The way that the game presents it is very much that Mind Flayers don't possess individuality, apart from a few exceptions. Instead, they experience themselves as being part of a collective hive mind, which, again, I know I keep talking about Alien, but is much like how some of the background lore of the Xenomorph presents it. Let's have a look at this one.
Worlds beyond worlds flash before your eyes. Empires of a grand design traversed by ships just like this.
When we're talking about worlds beyond worlds, we're talking about different planes of existence. So we spend most of our time in this game on the prime material plane. But there are many other realms that exist, populated by gods and demons and angels and devils and all sorts of different creatures. Each of them is infinite by the standard presentation in the lore. So we've got someone being very demanding in the corner over here.
You've come to save us from this place. From this place you'll free us. Please. Before they return. They return.
We failed a perception check there. Who am I talking to? A man or a brain?
A newborn. Born new from this house.
You realize you're talking to an intellect devourer, a minion of the Mind Flayers who abducted you.
I think you're past the point of saving. Tell me what to do.
Remove us from this body. From this place. Free us.
Let's do some investigation.
You notice edema, a swelling of the brain causing pressure where it strains against the shell of the skull.
Okay, what are our options here? Okay, we're going to use medicine with advantage. Attempt a cerebral extraction, staying mindful of the swelling. So we have advantage, we roll twice and use the highest. Oh, we've got loads here. We've got wisdom, we've got medicine proficiency, which I set to a high bonus, so we're probably fine. Yeah, we're good.
The brain lifts from the skull, but you notice an opportunity. You could cripple the strange creature, making it more subservient, should it prove a threat. Your fingers twitch with the desire to rip its tender, moist meat to shreds.
Now, this desire stems from our dark urges. I'm going to spare this creature, however.
Free. Our freedom is ours, friend.
The creature pauses, listening. Something behind your eyes seizes in recognition.
We must go to the helm. At the helm, we are needed.
What should I call you?
Us. We are us.
What's at the helm?
Tenses, as though querying an unseen advisor.
Do you not hear it? We will not survive here. We are needed to navigate. We are needed to leave this realm.
So we're clearly in the wrong place. Alright, let's go.
To the helm we go. We are going to the helm.
Sir, are you okay? Dead now. Okay, so, basically, we're talking about, or we were talking to, and we just saved an intellect devourer. That's a little brain with some leggies, that is sentient. They're kind of treated like pets by the Illithid, so kind of like they're dogs, but they have some level of not just sentience but sapience. They are intelligent creatures. Anyone who is familiar with one of the other CRPGs set in the Forgotten Realms, Neverwinter Nights, the first Neverwinter Nights, will probably be familiar with Intellect Devourers. So the plot of that game revolves around a plague, and there being 4 reagents that are required to make a cure for this. And one of them is an Intellect Devourer. And as part of the plot of that game, the reagents escape, and you need to track them down. The Intellect Devourer ends up causing a massive problem in one of the prisons, and you have to go and basically expunge it from there. Now, it's not really demonstrated in Baldur's Gate 3, but Intellect Devourers are really scary, and part of the reason that they're so scary is because they have the capacity, if you are incapacitated, I think is how it works in 5th edition, to literally teleport into your skull and displace your brain, and then they can just take control of your body, and you effectively just, you're done for, you're gone. That's not an ability that Us possesses, as you can see. He can dash, he can disengage, he can hide, he can jump, and he can claw. He's not teleporting inside anybody's skull. But that is something that Intellect Devourers can do within the wider universe.
Never wanted the easy path.
Okay.
Abomination. This is your end.
Your head throbs and your skin tingles. Visions rush past. A dragon's wing, a silver sword, and a flash of your face seen through the strange woman's eyes.
Oh. My head. What is this? Skvar. You are no thrall. Blackith blesses me this day. Together, we might survive.
What made you think I was a thrall?
We carry mind flayer parasites. Unless we escape, unless we are cleansed, our bodies and minds will be tainted and twisted. Within days, we will be Geich, mind flayers.
We're turning into mind flayers. There must be something we can do.
We can do nothing until we escape. That must long as it believes we are thralls. It may be of use in the fight to come.
Okay, we're in our first fight. So, we've met Lae'zel.
Well,
Lae'zel
so much for
is
peace.
a Githyanki, again, an alien race, and she, as featured within the opening cinematics, is also tadpoled. And that tadpole saved us today from her wrath. Okay, we're going to Sacred Flame the Imp. Let's just have us swipe at it. Wonderful. Lae'zel can charge in, and we'll get rid of some of these imps. So, we've got imps. What are imps? Well, they're devils. Now, in D&D, devils and demons are not the same thing. They're in fact at war. A war that we will learn a lot more about as we go through, particularly related to another companion's quest. Imps are one of the lesser forms of devils, which is why they're so easily defeated. But this gives us a bit of a clue as to where we are. So, let's just check our dialogue. So, basically, Lae'zel was telling us that we need to get out. Which, yeah, we need to get to the helm and escape, just as us said. We haven't actually been told yet, I believe, where we are. So let's continue onward and find out. I'm just picking up all of this stuff to sell later, so we have some money.
To take another dragon attack. We need to get out before it's too late.
I like how venerable my voice sounds. It fits the persona I'm going for. So we've picked up a few weapons, we picked up a few valuables, and we're climbing up all of this, you know, fleshy material. Let's venture through the sphincter. Okay, we've got some sigils, let's have a look. We have 3 buttons: Unleash, Aggression, and Annihilate. So this pertains to these cultists. Let's just go and annihilate them. Now, Lae'zel didn't like that we touched that, but she wasn't aware that we figured out what the buttons can do. So, as I've mentioned earlier, the Githyanki have a massive opposition to the Mind Flayers. So it's kind of interesting, because Lae'zel hates Mind Flayers. She has been raised her entire life to hate Mind Flayers, and for very, very good reason.
How many hosts of these beings infected?
But she seems okay with the presence of us, because we can use us to our advantage, perhaps. However, one of the things that she doesn't like is us touching their technology.
But for what?
Which is interesting. So maybe some competing motivations there, I guess? Right, okay. Let's release this lady.
The console appears dormant.
There's a socket in the console shaped like the rune you found. Insert it.
The console hums to life.
Arcana, take a closer look at the powered up console. Oh, plus 14. Yeah, we're good.
The pulsing glow and organic lines of the device make it seem more like a beating heart than a machine. Perhaps it will open the nearby pod.
Well, let's place our hand on it and find out.
Suddenly, you feel a hideous squirming in your head. A parasite. A
Illithid Wisdom. Will the pod to open. We critically fail.
You feel the biomechanical brain of the console process your command.
I have seen other people fail this check, but it has never been my fate. Let's see if Lae'zel can give it another go.
Craves blood. The console hums steadily, awaiting command.
Okay. Place your hand on the console, Lae'zel.
Suddenly, you feel a hideous squirming in your head. The parasite. Then discomfort fades, and another sensation washes over you. Connection. Authority.
Come on, Lae'zel. I'll cast guidance on you. There we go.
You feel the biomechanical brain of the console process your command and yield to it. A shiver runs across your mind. You feel sated.
Okay, let's go and have a little chat.
At last. Thought I was done for. Thought that damn thing was going to be my coffin. Thank you.
Your mind lurches into her thoughts. Her gratitude is mixed with wariness, because you have a gift with you.
You keep dangerous company.
So, I've seen a lot of people, when they are first playing this game or first introduced to this, get annoyed with Shadowheart for this comment and this attitude towards someone like Lae'zel. On the grounds of it being racist, which it is a form of racism. The way that race and the idea of species operates within Dungeons & Dragons is a difficult and rather contentious one. It's something that I have written on academically, and I think it's the way that I understand it is that this is a world, this is a fantasy that is completely drenched in very racialized ways of understanding how people exist and how people work. So, there's a form of racism that is kind of effectively built in to the way that Dungeons & Dragons works. One thing I will say with this particular interaction is there is a very good reason why Shadowheart feels this way. And that is because the Githyanki have a very particular reputation. And their society is incredibly autocratic and has elements of fascism that work within it. Now, if you encountered someone who basically comes from a society you know to be fascist, wearing the armour of that society, you would also perhaps have this kind of thought, maybe. Now, of course, in D&D, this cultural difference is encoded at the level of race, so it becomes a form of racism. This isn't to say that it's a kind of reasonable form of racism, because racism is inherently not only irrational, but it's also something that involves a certain kind of fantasy, or a certain kind of refusing to recognize someone as an individual person, and bases itself on a bunch of tropes and stereotypes, most of which are harmful, and the purpose of those is to effectively intercept between being able to see them as an individual human person. The way that race is working in this context is as a shorthand for kind of culture, or a shorthand for socialization, which is very... it's, at the very least, it's problematic. It's highly objectionable, is what I kind of mean to say. It's not great. And there are lots of problems with the way that D&D uses race as a shorthand in various ways for this. But there is a logic to why Shadowheart is acting this way. and it's because Lae'zel is dangerous company. So, I'm just going to respond with dangerous company's what you need in a fight.
Fair point. Looks like there's plenty of fighting ahead. Let me come with you. We can get off this ship and watch each other's backs along the way.
Alright then, let's get going. I'm the archivist.
Shadowheart. One moment.
What's that?
It's nothing. Trust me. Enough of this chatter. We need to get to the helm. Now. She's right. Lead on.
Okay, so,
Breathe deep and move.
yes. Right. Let's just take what we can in terms of some valuables.
Faint images appear in your mind. A brain, a Githyanki warrior, and centuries of darkness.
So, I'm going to change one of Shadowheart's spells, and the reason for changing this spell is because
No time to rest.
there is a creature we're going to be facing, and I want his sword. As simple as that. Right, I'm going to quick save, because I haven't done that since we started playing.
We are nearing the helm. Once inside, do as I say. Who put you in charge? I'll trust my own judgment. King Yank.
Already we have a little bit of tension. The girls are fighting. Right, through the sphincter.
Connect the nerves of the transponder. We must escape. Now.
Do it. We will deal with the gate after we escape.
Connect the nerves. Yes. Then
Okay, so we now actually understand where we are. So this guy, Commander Zalk, just shouted out that Avernus is ours. So Avernus is the first or outermost layer of Bator or Beator, depending on how you want to pronounce it, otherwise known as the Nine Hells. This is hell number 1 of 9. Yes, we begin this game in hell. This explains why all these devils are here, because in Forgotten Realms and in D&D in general, devils come from hell. And this is where we've ended up. So, Avernus is this wasteland. We saw an image of it in the opening cinematic. And the defining feature of Avernus is that because it's kind of the outermost layer, it is the layer where the Blood War rages. So this is the ever-present conflict between devils and demons. And that is fought all across these kind of barren, wasted plains. So, let's get into this fight. Okay.
Concentrate. Moving.
Right, I'm going to try and get this fellow to drop his weapon, and it worked first try. Isn't that wonderful?
Very well.
Right, we just need to pick that up on the way out. A critical hit for 3 points of damage? Well, okay.
No other devil. We must take the transponder.
The jumping shenanigans begin.
On the move.
So Zariel was mentioned. Zariel is the archdevil of Avernus, which is to say she is the Grand High Bitch herself. She is the one in charge. Right, we've got the blade, that's great. Zarya will become relevant
Hurry, before they strike.
to another of our companions' stories.
Still on my feet. Time to press ahead.
Let's see, let's just... Let's just get them threatened so they can't just fly away. Okay.
Make way.
Hi, Smurf. Yeah, I have banned them. Thanks for the rec, but yeah, I figured out how to do that. Okay, let's just fight our way over here.
Where do I go from here? Need to find a way forward.
Just gonna keep dashing. Let's just get us.
Make way.
Your spine is
Nearly out of sky. It's now or never.
Nearly out of sky. Well, we've got 12 turns, so I think that's plenty of time, Shadowheart. I think we're going to be okay.
The helm's alien transponder. You made it in time.
I think I blocked the bot rather than banning, but they're banned now. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, so Shadowheart was the star of that scene, as she was the one who touched the transponder. She does love the limelight, our Shadowheart. Wakey, wakey.
You half expected your memories to return once you were free of the Mind Flayer ship. But your past is still an aching void. If you don't find a way to remove the tadpole burrowed in your brain soon, your future will be as blank as your past. Your head whispers vengeance. You cannot wait to slice your way forth, seeking whatever wrought this tragedy upon you.
Okay, so we still have some compulsions that we are working through.
Just a step.
A mangled fisher.
You drink in the pungent corpse. Since you awoke on the ship, your mind has been cold and empty. Something stirs. With your hands close to this body, you know nothing of why, but you find a half smile flittering across your face.
Let's try to remember the last time we stood above a corpse. And we're going to pray for guidance. Hallelujah. Ogma is good.
As soon as you delve into your mind, it is filled with flashes of 1,000 different dead. There is something unknown and unspeakable deep within your heart.
Well, lots of dead things. Oh. Hello. Let's just wake her up.
You're alive. I'm alive. How is this possible?
I was hoping you might know that.
I remember the ship. I remember falling. Then nothing.
What happened to our Gith friend?
You might want to reconsider calling her a friend. Looks like she ran off without us.
We should look for her. She might be injured or worse.
You're more concerned for her than she is for you, clearly. We need to take care of ourselves. First things first. We need supplies, shelter, and most of all, a healer. We might have escaped, but we still have these little monsters in our heads.
You want to stay together?
We need each other, and we both know what's at stake. Can't think of better company.
Alright, let's get moving.
One thing, just before we go. I wanted to thank you again for freeing me. It would have been all too easy for you to run right past my pod, but you didn't. I'll remember that. Lead the way.
Okay, we have our first permanent friend. Just two clerics wandering across a beach littered with the corpses of a terrible, terrible accident. But we're not above taking some money from the dead. A bucket of fish. Let's read this letter. Sigh, I love you. There, I said it. And if you meet me tomorrow, I'll say it again, and again, and keep on saying it till we're old and grey. So let's do it. Let's go to Baldur's Gate. I know it's risky, but so's staying here. The last few months have been hard, but they're always a little easier when you're there. Leave your boat and meet me at the hill overlooking the old bridge. Bring whatever you can carry. We'll make do without the rest. Don't be late. Love, Anna. Well, unfortunately, Sai will not be making that rendezvous.
Fresh water. There must be a settlement somewhere.
Rest in peace. Should we read the shanties for the Bitch Queen? So, the Bitch Queen refers to Umberly, the goddess of the sea. She is considered an evil deity. She is capricious. If you don't offer her sacrifices and reverence before departing on a journey, she will fuck you over, just because that's what she wants to do. So we have some nice sea shanties here. I'm not going to force you to listen to me sing, but yes, some nice little flavour elements. Right. Well, we might as well take the fish. You worked so hard to fish that. Let's just collect some reagents, find a waypoint.
I'll take that.
The crafting system is not something that I've used a lot, but we may be making some use of it. Now, this isn't a kind of Dark Souls kind of game where you have to read loads of item descriptions to get information, but we may look at some as and when it becomes relevant. I saw a balsam. Where is this balsam? I saw it. It's over here.
More of those wretched things.
Oh, the balsam evades. We'll find it at some point, maybe. Alright, more things to sell. Okay. Let's start fighting some more intellect devourers.
Let's get this over with.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, this fight can be a little bit rough.
Vicious filth. Best keep some distance, so this will be a short fight.
Oh, and we're down. Immediately. Oh dear.
A little help, please.
Ooh, okay. Right. Let's throw. There's the throw action. And then I'm just gonna healing word myself. Oh. Oh dear. The amount of times I get completely wrecked by these, this specific intellect devourer fight. Right. We're just gonna come over here and wait for a second. Right, the Archivist is now officially dead. Right, we're gonna go to the here. We're gonna have a little save, and we're going to try and rescue the Archivist. Right, where is the Archivist's body? Oh, he's just there. Right. Okay, that's nice. At least we don't have to worry about that immediately. Right, let's just expend some of our spell slots to get rid of some of these. Goodness.
Swift as my feet can carry me.
You fight well.
Okay.
Perhaps our survival isn't such a
We
distant
got out of
prospect.
that little little bind. It would have been so embarrassing if that had been TPK immediately, but it's fine. We got past the biggest challenge in Baldur's Gate 3, which are those 3 intellect devourers that are just awful. If you play as Shadowheart, you don't have anybody else to help you with that fight, but you can sneak past it, I believe. That's nice. Right, short rest. Let's level up Shadowheart. So Shadowheart is also a cleric. She is a trickery domain cleric, so she gets a few stealth-related things. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Give you that loadout. Right. Okay. Shadowheart is now a tank.
Swift as my
Okay.
feet can carry me.
Let us continue along the way. And who is this dashing gentleman?
I've got one of those brain things called. There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others?
Easily. Stand back.
There. Can you see it?
Not very perceptive for a cleric.
Not a sound. Not if you want to keep that darling neck of yours. And you, keep your distance. No need for this to get messy.
I need him alive. Stow that blade, or I'll show you just how messy things can get.
Promises, promises. But I have other business, I'm afraid. Now, I saw you on the ship, didn't I? Not? Splendid. And now you're going to tell me exactly what you and those tentacle freaks did to me.
You have it backwards. They took me prisoner, just like you.
Don't lie to me.
Your mind twists. You're looking out of unfamiliar eyes, prowling dark, busy streets. You try to hold the memory, but it fades to the worm. The light, the fear.
What was that? What's going on?
Well, we have +1 to dex, so let's try and slip free while he's distracted. Shadowheart, guide me. Oh dear. It's not going well for the Archivist today. He's already died.
A fine effort. But I see it all. I was walking this land while your ancestors were learning to crawl. Now tell me, what just happened? What was that?
We have mind flayer worms in our head. In our heads. They connected us.
Yes. Yes, that has to be it. You're not one of them. They took you. Same as they took me. I'm half tempted to spill your guts all over the dirt anyway, but for now... Apologies.
Apology accepted. I might have done the same with the roles reversed.
A kindred spirit. My name's Astarion. I was in Baldur's Gate when those beasts snatched me.
I'm in quite the state, but I think I'm the Archivist.
A pleasure. So, do you know anything about these worms?
Yes, unfortunately they'll turn us into mind flayers.
Turn us into... Of course it'll turn me into a monster. What else did I expect? Although, it hasn't happened yet. If we can find an expert, someone that can control these things, There might still be time.
You should travel with me. Our odds are better together.
You know, I was ready to go this alone, but maybe sticking with the herd isn't such a bad idea. And you seem like a useful person to know. All right. I accept. Lead on.
As he joins your side, your mind dances with thoughts of a perfect, pretty corpse.
Well, that's very charming. Okay, so we now have Astarion. He is a rogue. We'll be keeping him as a rogue, I think. Sometimes I do like to respec him as a bard, just because that amuses me. He is great for doing burst damage, so we'll probably be speccing him into something like Assassin. And we also leveled up, so that's lovely. So we got actions, Knowledge of the Ages, so once per long rest. Oh, until long rest, so with our Channel Divinity we can just gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability. I have a feeling we might be using that for Charisma at some point, so we can have some talky options.
Then through.
Right, just do a little quick save in case we die again.
There. A mind flayer. It's hurt.
Right, let's have a chat with this Mind Flayer.
To be dangerous, even if injured. Just be careful.
We could just kill it, but we're here for the lore.
Approach the dying monster. This is the thing that abducted you. You could end its life here and now, if only you didn't feel compassion. Compassion.
Let's give in to the emotion.
The creature is on the brink of death, but there's still time. You'd give your life to save it, to nurse it back to health. But then the feeling slips. The creature's mind seems to focus elsewhere.
Intelligence. Concentrate on its thoughts. Ooh, we just made it.
Your minds fuse, lusting for something that is gone. But then its grip claws back with a vengeance, a vice locking your mind into obedience. It needs sustenance to survive, and with your very body you can provide.
We're not going to be leaning in for a kiss. We are going to be trying to resist. Ogma is good.
The monster lies exhausted, defeated. Its eyes, wet orange pearls, radiate malice.
Close those eyes forever. Oh. Bit aggressive, but there we go. So this is one of the reasons that Mind Flayers are so dangerous. They can manipulate your mind through powerful psionic magic that is capable of completely undermining your sense of reality. So there it was able to convince us, or at least part of us, that we cared about it. It literally planted compassion in our minds
Worth checking for
and tried to convince us that what we needed to do was effectively die to save it. And if we hadn't resisted, we would have lent in for a kiss, and that would have been a game over. Right. Let's continue on our way.
What's going on with that room? Looks unstable somehow.
You approach the sigil on the stone. Magic glitters and swirls from it erratically, as if malfunctioning. It looks slightly dangerous.
Let's touch it.
A hand? Anyone?
So, we could fantasize about hacking off the hand, but we are trying to control ourselves. We are not going to give in to our dark urges. So let's try and pray to soothe some of this magic. Alright, invoke the name of Ogma. Work. Okay.
Whatever you're doing is working wonders. Now a quick little pull should do the trick. Oh. Hello. I'm Gale of Waterdeep. Apologies. I'm usually better at this.
At introductions.
At magic. Say, but I know you, don't I? In a manner of speaking. You were on the North Lloyd as well.
I was, yes.
I can only assume you too were on the receiving end of a rather unwelcome insertion in the ocular region.
Couldn't have phrased it more repellently myself.
No use sugarcoating it, is there? The insertee we speak of, this parasite, are you aware that after a period of excruciating gestation it will turn us into mind flayers? It's a process known as ceremorphosis, and let me assure you, it is to be avoided. You don't happen to be a cleric by any chance, do you? A doctor? Surgeon? Uncannily adroit with a knitting needle?
You seem to know enough about our condition to realize it's beyond most clerics' skills.
Most, no doubt, but I find myself hoping to be in the presence of the few. You don't happen to be one of them.
I am a cleric indeed, but I'm afraid the power to remove this parasite eludes me. I can't cure us.
As we've established, few enough can. It's not exactly a common affliction. We're most certainly going to need a healer, and soon, too. How about we lend each other a helping hand once more, and look for a healer together?
Sounds like a plan. You're welcome to join me.
Most excellent. Parasite shared is a parasite halved. Or something to that effect. Oh, but before you think you're about to embark on a journey with most ill-mannered a man, thank you for pulling me out of that stone. It was an act of foresighted kindness, I assure you. I have a feeling ample opportunities will present themselves for me to return the favor.
Okay, welcome to Gale. Gale is a wizard, so we have someone who's capable of doing arcane magic. So, again, there is a division within the between different types of magic within Forgotten Realms. So, classically, the main division was between arcane magic, the kind that's used by wizards and sorcerers and warlocks, and divine magic, which is used by clerics and also technically druids. So the idea is that you have one kind of magic that is called the art. So wizards learn to practice the art, and divine magic is usually referred to as the power. The definitions are a bit difficult, so version or edition, third edition of D&D had a distinction. You had arcane and divine magic. Fourth edition had a bit more of a granular division, so each class had a different power source. So you had martial classes like your fighters and your trying to think of the other ones. Warlords was another one, and your rogues. You had arcane and divine as two different ones, but then you also had primal, and primal was where you had your druids. You also had a few other classes such as warden and shaman that came into that as well. So there is this distinction from a previous edition. In 5th edition, you don't really have it as a standard rule distinction. You just have some spells are available to clerics, some are available to druids, some are available to wizards, and there is some crossover there. It also used to be the case in previous editions of Forgotten Realms that a druid needed a god to provide their spells. So a cleric, they only get their magic through prayer. A god grants them the ability to work effectively minor miracles. Wizards gain their power through study. So they're an intelligence-based class, and the kind of idea is they're studying kind of the nature of the universe, the nature of the weave, the fabric of magic. So you have these different types of magic, and now we have someone who can do arcane. Is the bottom line. So as standard, Gale tends to be an evocation, sometimes an abjuration wizard. I have a bit of a habit of wanting to make him into a divination wizard. And the reason for this is because divination wizards get this wonderful feature called portent, which means that every time they long rest, they roll 2 20-sided dice, and they get the ability to replace other people's dice rolls with those numbers. So it's really good for turning a miss into a hit, or turning an enemy's critical hit into a miss. It's just great. And there are also there's a mechanic that is unique to Baldur's Gate 3 where you can actually regain portent dice by fulfilling certain, I think, randomly generated conditions. So I'm keeping him as, or specking him into, I should say, a divination wizard. As for his spells, he already has quite a few of these. So these are spells he already has, and we can pick 2 more. Wizards work by, they also prepare their spells, but whereas a cleric or a druid just has access to all of the spells on their spell list and they can just pick them, wizards know a certain amount that is in their spellbook, and then they can prepare an even smaller pool of those. But the idea is that they have a lot more flexibility. They can also learn spells from scrolls, which no other class can. So, let's see. He already has mage armor. I'm going to give him magic missile, and let's go with shield. We can always respec him if we need to. Right, let's just clear all of these. Right, we want a couple of defensive options. Magic missile, thunder wave is always great, and why not have some grease? So, we'll be casting mage armor immediately, because we need him to have some armor. So our portent dice are 9 and 11, which is not great, because those are very middle numbers, which means you're not guaranteed to turn something into a hit or turn it away from a hit. But, you know, one of the benefits of this is that because it's a CRPG, it is a lot more forgiving, because it gives you more information than you usually have when you're playing D&D. Right, I'm just going to charisma myself with knowledge of the ages.
We take it to the brook.
I'm a smooth talker now.
Yellow as a toad, twice as ugly.
The thing's dangerous. Leave it for the goblins to kill.
And if it escapes, how will you... Oh, a guess.
Your skull pounds in response to the prisoner's white-hot stare. Her lips don't move, yet you hear her voice.
Get rid of them.
This creature is dangerous. Get out of here. Leave it to me. And let's see. That's not concentration, so we'll guidance ourselves.
He's right. Let's go. We need to check out that blast. You didn't hear it. Shook our camp good, so we came for a look.
Persuasion. I'm in dire need of healing. Where is this camp?
Northwest. Look for Nettie. Whatever your wound, she can mend it.
And be careful. There are goblin traps everywhere.
Nymessa, come.
Enough gawking. Get me down.
Say please.
Never.
Okay, so these people, we're going to learn a lot more about their particular group, but they are they're tieflings. So tieflings have an interesting history within D&D. Basically, they are those people, usually human, sometimes not, who have fiendish blood. Now that can be infernal because they have a devil as an ancestor, or it can be abyssal because they have a demonic ancestor. Again, devils, demons, very different creatures in this mythology. So, interestingly, tieflings used to be monsters. Just straight up, they were in the monster manual, they were enemies, they were NPCs, and basically they weren't considered to be a standard player race. Now, this changed with 4th edition, where tieflings were brought into the player's handbook as one of the base player races, and they actually kicked out gnome from that space. 4th edition was also where Dragonborn came in. The history of Dragonborn within Forgotten Realms is an interesting one because they're technically not native to this planet, or this plane, questionable. So tieflings have become much more normalized within the canonicity of D&D. And this move to include tieflings as like one of the basic races that's in the first player's handbook persisted with 5th edition. Gnomes were put back, Dragonborn have remained. So this is part of the history. Now, as they were first considered monsters, tieflings had a kind of history of being treated in one of two ways. They were either considered horrible, evil, nasty, terrible, creatures, or they were considered exotic, and therefore they were considered treated by a lot of the original material as being effectively they were effectively sexualized. There were a lot of very kind of over-the-top depictions of them as occupying that kind of racialized other, that sexually desirable racialized other. Now, tieflings are very common in Forgotten Realms. Now, with the shift in different editions and the kind of commercial movement of where they sit in the rule set, this has obviously influenced how they exist in the setting. Lae'zel, calm down. I'm getting to you. My god, she's so demanding. The way that this has worked is that a lot of the tieflings in Forgotten Realms are the result of some of the metaphysical shifts, where effectively Asmodeus or Asmodeus, the god of hell, effectively claimed as many kind of bloodlines as he could, which meant that a load more tieflings were born kind of very, very, very quickly. There are lots of different types of tieflings in the rule set for 5th edition. For the Infernal, there's one for each of the 9 layers of hell. In this game, you get access to 3. So you get the standard Asmodean tiefling, which are the ones that we met. You have some tieflings aligned with Zariel, who we talked about before, the ruler of the first hell. And then you have Levistian. Tieflings that come from Levistus, who is the Duke of Stygia, which is, I think, the 5th or 6th hell. It's an ice hell. Okay, right. Let's get her down because she's being teamed too much. There we go.
No one's stopped me yet.
The tadpole hasn't yet scrambled all your senses. Auspicious. But the longer we wait, the more it consumes. My people possess the cure for this infection. I must find a creche. You will join me.
Careful. She obviously sees your kindness as weakness. Don't let her take advantage.
So, the girls are still fighting, is what we need to know. Alright, we'll journey together. Let's find this creche.
You are full up. Dismiss your weakest warrior.
Wait at my camp, we can speak there.
Very well, but heed my words. The Horned Ones mentioned a camp. One there, this Zorin, has seen Githyanki. A creche must be near. I must interrogate this Zoru. Our very lives depend on it. I will be at your camp. Do not keep me waiting.
Okay, so, yeah, another thing about the tieflings is, there is some racial prejudice that happens against the tieflings because of the fact that they have infernal blood. Now, this is again part of the wider racializing or racialized logics of D&D. Even though the standard source material, if you read the player's handbook, basically says that their kind of fiendish heritage doesn't predispose them to, evil, or doesn't make them any less moral than anybody else. You know, the fact that you look like a devil or a demon, depending on who your ancestor was, it does predispose people to treat you in a certain kind of way, and that is something that is explored in this. Right, we're going to continue this way, in the way over kind of here, but first we're going to send Shadowheart to camp, and then we're going to go to camp and get Lae'zel, because we don't really need 2 clerics. But yes, let's do that.
Lae'zel has a dangerous look in her eyes. Let's just hope she reserves those impulses for any common foes.
Okay, we should journey separately for now. I'll see you whenever we can.
If you're sure.
I'm sure.
As you like. Perhaps I'll see you at camp.
Okay, right, she's just wandering off. We're going to teleport because we know what's up. Lae'zel.
Chatter already, Tusky.
I mean, okay. The attitude is strong. Right, I'd like you to join me.
Done.
And here we go. Right. Now, Lae'zel is a fighter. Often considered by some to be one of the most vanilla classes in D&D. Fighters, however, are great. They are one of the strongest classes, particularly when we get to some higher levels. They are able to dish out far more attacks than anybody else. They're really good at tanking. They're just, Lae'zel, particularly at high levels, is great. Sometimes I respec her, sometimes I run her as a monk, for example, which is equally fun, but we'll keep her a fighter at least for now. Right, we did get that sword, didn't we? Right. Oh, the sword's on Shadowheart, right. But we have this wonderful feature where we can go here. There we are, the Everburn Blade. It is a great sword, and fortunately for us, we have, I think, let me just check, but I believe that Lae'zel has great weapon fighting. So she doesn't actually want to use a little straight sword or long sword or whatever. She wants to use a 2-handed weapon. And now she has the one that we stole from the devil. The devil himself. Right, hello.
You! Not another step, hear me? Boss! Got company up here!
What's this then? Trying to creep around us and loot the crypt? Not happening. Or is it the ship you're after? Don't matter either way. It's ours. All of it.
Let's go with, the only thing you own is your life. Leave before I take that too. Because there's some little uppity people here who are trying to tell us what to do. We will invoke the name of Ogma. We're fine.
Well, in that case, come on, you lot. No point in getting killed. Second worm gets the cheese and all.
Second mouse gets the cheese, no?
Nobody's getting any damn cheese. Now move it.
They are truly cheeseless. Right.
Would have been quicker to kill one.
Lae'zel is absolutely ready for a fight. Another little quick save before we venture forward. Right, we have some interesting ruins to explore.
Have you given book? Everything all right out there?
Gimblebot triggered some trap. He needs help now.
Hold it, it wasn't safe outdoors. Get inside and I'll rustle off some bandaging.
On we go.
You're dead!
Oh, okay. Lae'zel just made quick work of that. Between 5 and 15 points of damage. Yeah, that's a great weapon. I'm glad that we brought it along. Take that key. Just take everything. Okay. So, here we are, inside these ruins.
But I don't recognize his presence.
So there's something holy, or something divine. Divine can mean holy or unholy, so there's something here. Let's just have a little look.
Ancient, indecipherable text covers the plaque.
A dead tongue. Whoever worshipped here must be long gone.
Okay. So we've got a couple of books. Let's have a little read. Okay, so Death and Divinity, a Godly Guide. Death is too powerful a force for even a single god to contain. It is a duty that has been passed from hand to hand, splintered into smaller pieces, disease, war, funeral rites, but there must always be an overseer of the cycle as life falls away. For countless eons, it was Jurgle, the Lord of the End of everything, presided over mortality with his unblinking stare until even he grew weary. Young Baal, Bane, and Merkel must have thought themselves conquerors when they came for the god of death, yet he used their ambitions to free himself. Merkel claimed primacy over death from Jurgle's bargain, but even he does not rule death alone. What is murder if not the most violent of deaths, seized by Baal in his incessant greed? What need would there be for noble Kelemvor to judge passing souls if one deity could hold the process entire? Even gods can die, after all. Those who worship death should remember that above all else. So, we have some important names here. Jurgle was kind of the original god of the dead. Then we have this splintering of his power into this group of three people who are known as the Dead Three. So we have Bane, the god of tyranny, we have Baal, the lord of murder, and we have Merkel, the god of the dead. Not death, but the dead. So these were very relevant in a lot of the previous stories that happened in Forgotten Realms. So Baal, in particular, is really important for the first two Baldur's Gate games. And the next book we're going to look at in just a second is about the Baalspawn Crisis, which is covered in those first two games. But we have here basically a story of how a lot of the... we have an indication here of how fragile the metaphysics of this world is. So gods change, they move, their powers shift. Bane, Baal, and Merkel have all died at various points, and they have all come back in different ways. Merkel gets a bit of a feature in one of the expansions for Neverwinter Nights 2, which is Mask of the Betrayer. He's very central to that plot. Bane, I'm not sure if he has any kind of... Other than this game, I'm not really sure if Bane is used that much as a villain in the CRPGs that I know of, but he's effectively the god of tyranny. Kelemvor, we saw a little bit earlier when I was picking the deity for this. He is the current god of death, and he's kind of this impassionate judge who rules over the plane where dead souls go, which is the fugue plane. Now, the kind of eschatology in Forgotten Realms is a little bit muddy. Again, we've got different sources. One of the classic ways of reading it is basically that when you die, you go into the fugue plane, and then a servant of the god that you worshipped comes and collects you, and then you go off to that god's realm, where eternity awaits. One of the other things that can happen is no one comes to collect you. You're basically forgotten, and you spend eternity in the City of the Dead, in the Fugue Plain, with Kelemvor and his servants. Or a god just refuses you because you were false and you betrayed them. Another thing that can happen in this setting, or it certainly used to be the case, is in order to ensure that mortals would continue worshipping the gods, if you were kind of an atheistic soul, not in the sense that you didn't believe in the gods, but in the sense that you just didn't worship them, your soul would be placed in the Wall of the Faithless, which surrounds the City of the Dead, and you would basically rot away in agony. Now that was the case in 3rd edition. 4th edition had a whole different cosmology going on. 5th edition is much closer to 3rd edition, so we're back to the City of the Dead, the Fugue Plain, and Kelemvor and all that, but the status of the Wall of the Faithless is unknown at the moment. So death is a bit of a mystery again. But let's have a look at this other book. So The Mortal View, Eyewitness Accounts of the Ballspawn Crisis. The guild seal on the inside of the cover belongs to a print-making collective in Baldur's Gate. Of course I remember. Knew the second that girl was walking that should be trouble. Little thief, always in everybody's business. And that ward of Gorion went right along with her. No surprise a wicked god's blood was running in their veins. Anonymous, Candlekeep. Saravok and his lot are always the first ones that come to mind. You know this all started with a bit of iron in Nazgul. Everyone thought their weapons would rot out of their hands. Back then I thought the problem was bad trade. Never took the man for a son of Baal. Armenian mercenary, interviewed on his deathbed. You dare speak to me that name? My mistress was turned to ash fighting those forsaken wretches. I curse Baal, I curse Arenicus, and I curse you. Hostile vampire, Afkatla slums. The 5 tore Tethir to pieces. I don't think anyone expected more Ballspawns showing up would fix the war that a pack of them started. Then again, they were all inclined to killing each other, eh? Good riddance. Here's hoping every last one of them has been wiped off the face of Faerun. Saradush, merchant, retired. I'm not authorized to be talking about any murder with someone like you. Take it up at the Sea Tower if you want to argue, but honestly, who cares if a Ballspawn got it stuck to them? Their father's the killing type after all. Flaming Fist Gauntlet, Baldur's Gate. Several 100 more interviews follow, most of them terse. This is a really lovely little bit of acknowledgement of the previous games. So if we look at the first one, it's from Candlekeep. Candlekeep is this library fortress that's to the south of Baldur's Gate. It is run by this order that are dedicated to kind of preserving knowledge, and it is also where the character that you play in the first 2 Baldur's Gate games grew up. And he, or she, or even they, is a ward of Gorion. So Gorion was one of these Candlekeep scholars, and he took you and a girl called Imowen, who is the girl referenced here, in as his wards. And the reason he did this is because both of you were Ballspawn. Now, Ballspawn are the very literal biological children of Baal. So, historically, one thing that happened, I think it's probably a couple hundred years before this game is set, is something called the Time of Troubles. And this was a time where the Dead Three, so Bane, Baal, and Merkel, stole from Ao. Now, Ao is kind of like the god of gods. He is the god that oversees all other gods. He's not like a Zeus figure, so Zeus is a lot more present. Ao is kind of above it all. He is an over-deity. You can pray to him, but he doesn't give any mortals his power. He is just there to keep the gods in line, and he gets to decide, he gets to determine what gods can and cannot do. So the Dead Three steal from him, and as a punishment, he says, right, I'm done with this, all of these gods are causing problems. He kicks them out of the different planes and puts them all in the material world. Now, during this time, Baal, the god of murder, he hears of this prophecy that he's going to die. And Baal, who was originally a mortal, all of the Dead Three were, they were mortals that bargained with Jurgle, the original god of death, for their power. Baal was like, I'm not having that. So he basically devised this plan and had as many children as possible. It is mentioned that several of these are not consensual children. Not all of them are human. He has lots of different children, and the idea is that he's spreading his inheritance or his essence as wide as possible, because he's going to use these children to resurrect himself. And you play as one of these children in the first two Baldur's Gate games. So the second one, Saravok, he is the villain of Baldur's Gate 1. He is a Ballspawn, so he's the half-brother of the protagonist, and you have to kill him, because he is trying to become the next Bal. Now, in Baldur's Gate 2, the main villain is this fellow, Irenicus, and we won't go into him right at the moment, but this is referencing Baldur's Gate 2, where Irenicus and his sister, who is the mistress mentioned by this hostile vampire in Athkatla, they're the villains of Baldur's Gate 2, which is ironically set in Athkatla, not in Baldur's Gate. You don't go to Baldur's Gate in Baldur's Gate 2. Then we also get this lovely little reference here in this interview to Baldur's Gate 2 Throne of Baal. So that was an expansion to the second Baldur's Gate game. I believe originally it was meant to be Baldur's Gate 3, but it just got kind of truncated and turned into an expansion instead. That is an expansion that covers the story of the Five. So Baal's plan is that he wants the Ballspawn to kill each other. And the more that they kill each other, they absorb the essence of each other until it's all concentrated in one person, and hey presto, Baal can be reborn. So at this point you have loads of Ballspawn. Loads of them. The Five are a group that come together, and they decide we're going to kill off all the others until there's only us left, and then we'll kill each other to, claim the grand prize. So in Baldur's Gate 2 Throne of Baal, you have to basically hunt down the Five. And there's a lot more references to them, particularly in the third act of the game. There's a lot of references to them, which is really nice. But the reason that this is talking about Saradush is because that's one of the main cities you go to in that expansion, because basically someone has offered Saradush as a city where Ballspawn can take refuge, which of course then leads to the Five trying to besiege it. So there's a reason why the general attitude here is fuck the Ballspawn. People do not like the Ballspawn, because when you have the power of the god of murder in your veins, trouble follows. But this is a lovely little bit of some of the history, and it's a connection to the previous two games, which is great. Now let's do some looting. Got some valuables.
Might be useful.
Let's just pick up all of the cheese and sausage that we need. And let's pick up this portrait of Fane. Again, this is another reference, not to anything D&D. This is a kind of Larian Studios in-joke. Fane is one of the origin characters that you can play as or have in your party from Divinity Original Sin 2. Alright, we're going to try and do this fight. So there we go. Right, Astarion is hidden, so he's not in the initiative order. Why am I clicking on him? There we are. Right, he might get spotted. Nope. Wonderful. Let's just do a sneak attack. Oh, nice. Good work, Astarion. Oh, not quite. Yeah. Let's, action surge just to get rid of her. Oh, she was the only person. No one else knew that we were there. Right. Where are the others then? Interesting. We're going to do some sneaky sneaks. There's usually a massive group here. Are they all in here? Goodness. I've never had this happen before.
No lock, no handle. How does it open?
Okay, they're all in there. Right. Cool, 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 cool. Right.
Oh, enough waiting. I crave blood.
We have some wonderful explosive barrels. Well, one explosive barrel, I think. So we're just gonna... move that there. Hazel, what is wrong with you? Stop trying to shoot everything, shall we? Right. Okay, let's just move up.
Time to press ahead.
Okay, let's see. Okay. He didn't seem to notice us directly. Oh, oh, combat is happening. Oof, Lae'zel. Poor Lae'zel. Okay, let's see if we can get some extra stuff with Astarion. Wonderful. This is per short rest as well. Good, right. We're just going to keep shooting them through the door, I think. Move her away from the explosive barrel. Let's grease the wheels a bit. And there we go. Yep. We'll just shield that. Okay, I think we're out of spell slots with Gale, though, aren't we? Yeah, that's fine. Right. Time to blow up the barrel. Oh, Astarion, you were too close. I'm so sorry. Oh well. Dead now. Let's see. Can we shoot you? We can shoot you. Oh, camera. There's some interesting stuff. Right. Let's just help him get up. Let's see. Can he move without stepping on the fire? Probably. Just have him jump. Then run over here. We'll short rest later. You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, he missed. And now he's got a flaming sword. Oh, she dashing. Now, I think that the AI is on Tactician, so the enemies should be... I don't want to speak too soon and say they're going to be relatively clever, but they should be reasonably clever. Right, Gale, body block. Oh, the path is interrupted. We'll just shoot the door. Why not? Okay, you're just gonna hide for a moment because you're not in a position to really do anything, and that's fine.
Here we go again.
Oh dear. I think we're resistant to fire though, aren't we? Are we? Because we're of the Dragonborn type we are? Yes, we're fine. Okay. Oh, maybe less fine. Oof. Less than ideal, but Lae'zel has a massive sword, so this is fine. Yeah, there we go. blaster.
I won't give in.
I can't reach her, so let's just... Sacred Flame. There we go, right. Let's just have a little... Whew, okay. Right. We're having a bit of a time of it. Let's just loot some of these people. Give that to Gale. Come on. Right, we have another book. Now, I'm not going to read every book the moment we get it, but why not? Have a little look. Now, okay, so, this is called, let me just read the title, Journey Through the Jungle. The adventures of one Baron von Baron and his goblin guide Jor as they brave the thick jungles of Chult. So Chult is a kind of distant continent within Forgotten Realms. It's the focus of 5th edition's Tomb of Annihilation adventure. If any of you are familiar with that. So yeah. The sun had just fallen below the horizon when I first heard its call, 1,000 reed pipes at once whistling a beautiful, single, terrible song. Ulu Thalonk, said Jor. It's coming. Jor dropped her pack and scurried up the nearest bitter. With a bit more effort, I climbed a tree of my own, and the two of us surveyed the grassy ground beneath. Awoo! There it was again, above and beneath and all around, so close my skull vibrated from the sound. The ferns and foliage under me rippled and swayed. Jor held a finger to her lips to demand my silence, and in one motion it snatched her. A vine, a tentacle? It hardly mattered. The hunter had found its prey. Jor's screams swelled, then faded as Ulu Thalong dragged her away. I leapt down to give chase, but the creature left no mark behind. The grasses were untrampled, the shrubs unbroken. I had only the memory of that harrowing call to guide me. One of the things that we are getting from a lot of these sources is that Forgotten Realms is a very dangerous place. Let's have a read of these chapel records. Fine dust coats the pages of this weathered book. Beneath the bone-white powder, hundreds of short obituaries are recorded in tiny script. Grobian Tipple, Ilmata, drowning. Yvain Arkanson, Ogma, internal rot. Devrin Stout, Saluna, fever. So, what we have here is a name, a god, and a cause of death. So, one of the things we might intuit about this book, and therefore about this place, is that they are recording gods that are associated with particular deaths. So, they are interested, perhaps, in which god might be collecting this person after death. So take some of those. What does this say?
This text is ancient. A dedication to a forgotten god.
So again, we have no idea who this is dedicated to.
Something over there.
There's a lever. Now, this lever is in the mouth of a skull. Bear that in mind. So here's another text that we can have a look at, which I remember this one is quite interesting. So the Unclaimed. In life, her service had been impeccable. Daily did she devote herself to the Lady of Loss. Daily did she free herself from the tyranny of memory. All, in time, was lost to her, her relations, her preferences, even her own name. Upon the altar of her devotion placed she the ultimate offering, her emptied mind. And when she died, she awoke in death and found herself standing in the pale and faded city of judgment. She waited for the Lady of Loss to retrieve her. A million souls and more passed her in colourless gusts, but no hand materialized in her hand, no voice whispered instruction in her ear, no guidance proffered itself from the bleached and barren sky. Time, immaterial time, passed around her like air, coming and going, and still the goddess did not come for her devotee. Kelemvor pitied her, as much as the Lord of the Dead is able, but could not intervene. This cleric of the Lady of Loss, unclaimed despite her worthiness, might yet have one more lesson to learn, that not of forgetting, but of being forgotten. So, we were talking a bit earlier about the fugue plane. This is how it works. You die, you show up at the City of Judgment, which is where Kelemvor presides, and the idea is that your god will come and grab you. Now, this person was a devotee of the Lady of Loss. The Lady of Loss, who is a very, very important figure in this game, particularly in relation to our beloved Shadowheart. This is a tale of the Lady of Loss, of Shah, not collecting one of her faithful. And it is entirely up to the deity's decision whether they collect their faithful or not. So there is no necessity for them to do that. And as we will learn, Shah is quite the sort. And we'll see what I mean by that later. Right, we've got a lot of repeated books here, but we did get one new one, which is The Curse of the Vampire. So let's have a look at that. Hearken close and beware the vampire. Beware its cold beauty. Beware its charm. Beware its curse. Above all, beware the pale noble, for the vampire cannot bear to be of the common folk. How doth one protect from the beast? Walk not in blackest night, for the vampire loves these nights more than any other. If you must walk, do so by the light of our moon, and take care. Carry the blessings and marks of your God at all times. But remember, your home is a fortress, if protected well. If you hear a knock in the night, be wary. Let no stranger into your home. If it be friend, look upon them. Do you find them pallid and wan? See you any mark upon their neck? See you any dirt upon their clothes? Unless their need is great, turn away all but the most trusted. And if the beast finds its way into your home, leave. Flee. Leave love and family behind. You will not save them if you fight. You will not see them again. But they will see you, pale and smiling, calling them into the night. Vampires within Forgotten Realms work pretty much as you would expect. They are undead. They require... Oh, there's a javelin. Where is it? Oh, okay. There's a javelin somewhere in space, somewhere in time. Who knows? Oh, it's there. It's got stuck on the door. Oh, can't reach it. Okay, well. So yeah, vampires will also become relevant over the course of this, particularly for our rather sassy-mouthed companion, Astarion. Okay. Right.
This place wasn't built for the living.
Right, I am going to cast Light, just because Dark Vision is a thing, on Death and Resurrection. That's a new book. Should we have a read? An excerpt from the ongoing metatext Rebound by Josefa Elgin, a scholar excommunicated from the Church of Denier for her heretical efforts to reconstruct the metatext, her god's annal of lost and hidden knowledge. So Denier is the god of writing, and kind of the god of scholarship. Not so much a god of knowledge per se, but specifically writing records, that kind of stuff. If it had been an option, he would have been a great god for the archivist to be worshipping. The metatext is kind of Denier's... there's this concept that is kind of this perfect text that contains all hidden knowledge. And it's something that has this kind of interesting role in the faith and following of Denier, in that it's something holy and sacred, but it's also something that you're not supposed to pursue because it's meant to be, in some case, forbidden. So, Elgin says, of what value is a life? Far too esoteric a topic to warrant any serious critical consideration between these pages, surely, or so it would seem at first glance. But once we push aside the mysticism and dewy-eyed sentiment so often clouding our assessment, it is clear that across all the spinning planes, each and every life does, indeed, have a quantifiable value. It is simply that not all are equally valuable. Consider, we already know that the destruction of our material form is not the end. If anything, our souls are more free after death, transcending planar barriers in search of a resting place that best befits our deeds, beliefs, and station in life. But even this assessment is subject to market forces, Lord Kellenville weighing our souls against how thoroughly we have given them over to the other gods, empowering them in turn. There is, of course, an alternate route, not the end of the path, but the chance to retread it. Clerics across the realms wield the power to return life to any soul deemed worthy or willing enough. It is strange, then, that these so frequently intersect with those deemed wealthy enough, for the components for such a spell are beyond the means of most mortals. I have interviewed those who have made such a return, and in truth have found them to be of the most dull and unimaginative sort that I cannot possibly imagine what it is they were so eager to return to. If a true assessment of the journey is to be made, then there is simply no replacement for embarking upon it oneself. Perhaps one day this great volume of learning will make me worthy enough to walk that path and wealthy enough to return. So this is kind of a little, I guess, dig at how resurrection magic works. Basically, if you're a powerful enough cleric, some other classes have some options, but cleric is the main one, you have the ability to return people to life. So you get spells like Revivify that can bring someone back within about a minute. Then you have Raise Dead, Resurrection, True Resurrection. A lot of these have different requirements, so the more powerful the spell, the less time. The more powerful the spell, the more time can have passed since the person died, and the less of that person you need. So for Raise Dead, I believe that you need their body, and that it has to be something that can be repaired within reason. Resurrection, if you have part of that person, it will create a whole new body for them. And True Resurrection, as long as you know their name, you can bring them back. Now, there are some limits to this. The material components that are completely consumed when you cast that spell within 5th edition are usually diamonds of various values. So that's what the book is kind of suggesting, that you kind of need wealth, particularly particularly bling in the form of diamonds, in order to return a soul. Interestingly, there are a couple of other caveats to this. You can't resurrect or bring someone back if their soul is unable to return. So there are certain spells that can trap souls, certain creatures that can do it. There are even ways that souls themselves can be destroyed. If the soul is not free to return, your spell's not going to work. Additionally, there's no such thing as non-consensual resurrection with most of these spells. Which is to say, if the soul is free but unwilling, you can't force someone back into life. And the other one, which is quite interesting, is these spells will not permit someone to be resurrected if they have died of old age. So those are some of the limits that are set on this. Now, of course, technically you do have the caveat that gods are able to bypass most of these rules whenever they want. Just going to heal up a little bit. Because gods can basically do whatever they want to some degree. Not without consequences, but a lot of the time they can do pretty much whatever they want. Provided they're willing to pay the price. I think we'll be fine. Well, we spoke too soon, didn't we? Alright, we've got plenty of inspiration. We can only have 4 of those, so let's try again. So yeah, this is a world where the dead can come back, and in fact it's not infrequent that it happens. It's just, do you have access to a powerful enough cleric who's willing to perform that spell, and can you cover the cost of that spell? So a lot of people have experienced death. Now, an interesting thing about the fugue plane is that the suggestion from the word fugue is that it's associated with a form of memory loss. So we can associate it perhaps with some of the understandings of death that come from classical antiquity. So, for example,
I wonder what was so subversive about their work in chaotic protection.
if you're familiar with kind of Greco-Roman understandings, you had an underworld where you dwelt, um, until such a time where you were basically ready to go round again. So there was a form of reincarnation. So think, for example, of the Aeneid, where Aeneas descends into the underworld and encounters his father within Elysium. And his father says that we dwell in this kind of underworld paradise for a time, and then when we're ready to return, we... Oh, Gail's getting excited over literature. Then he says, when we feel ready, we drink the waters of the river Leith, and we forget, and then we are reborn again. So a fugue, the fugue is a kind of loss of memory. In psychology, a fugue state describes a state where someone just basically completely loses memory, not in the sense of amnesia, but it's effectively they just kind of... I mean, I guess it's similar to amnesia, but you have kind of anecdotes of people who will go into a fugue state and they will just go and live a completely different life, and then they'll awaken from this fugue state years later and suddenly remember. So there's an implication here that that realm is associated with a loss of memory. It's not clear whether it's a loss of memory that happens when you get collected and you leave and you go off into, eternity, or if it's just not very easy to remember your time in the fugue plane. Some of the sources around here that we've read indicate you probably do. Others, not so much. This is interesting. This object here is a soul coin. So it says here, strange, incomprehensible whispers emanate from this coin, pervading your mind with rage and despair. So these were an item that was introduced in the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus module for 5th edition, which this game has a lot of references to. Soul coins are from hell, and they are infernal currency, and each one contains a soul of someone who is damned. Our use for them is quite particular in this game, but yes, when we've been reading some of this stuff about the metaphysics and the eschatology and all of that kind of stuff, what we are encountering is this idea that there is a kind of spiritual economy that is in the background of this world, and it is not one that is necessarily great for mortals. Right, let's... Book of Dead Gods, let's have a gander.
This book is far lighter than it should be with such a massive lock.
Okay. Cleric Wisdom. Channel a spark of divine power into the lock. Or Arcana. Oh, Arcana's plus 14. Let's search the arcane... Search for an arcane rune to sabotage. And we'll call for guidance. Unless we fumble, we'll be okay. Yeah, we got this.
As the lock opens, a loose page comes with it. Magic pulses from the parchment. What was once script is now an obliterated scrawl. You have a sense these are names, a list. But of what?
Let's examine the book more closely with religion. Ogma is good. Okay.
Gods. These are the names of gods, once lost but now restored after the Second Sundering. The last three names in this book sit close together, but are so devastated by the scrawl as to be unreadable. Entire pantheons have dwindled and been reborn, silently recorded by this book.
So, Second Sundering. What's that? Well, it's the event that was used to provide an in-universe canon explanation for how we move from the 4th edition rule set to the 5th edition rule set. So, between editions 3 and 4, you had the Spell Plague. So I mentioned earlier, Mystra, goddess of magic, she died. So that's how we explain how magic worked completely differently during the years covered by 4th edition. It was because Mystra was dead. And her death unleashes this spell plague, which causes all kinds of problems. It completely unmakes the world and remakes it in different ways. One of those ways, in fact, is relevant to our character because it brings back Dragonborn. So part of the story is that Toril, the planet that we are on, was once joined with another realm called Abir. And because what they were going for in 4th edition was this idea of a primordial war between gods and kind of the Titans from kind of Greek mythology, which were named primordials, they had this idea that originally it was one shared world, but the gods and the primordials were constantly fighting, so Ao said, enough, I'll split it in two. So Toril was given to the gods, and Abir was given to the primordials, and Dragonborn were native to Abir. So, the Second Sundering is an act where Ao basically hits a big reset button, and it undoes a lot of stuff. So, as part of this, Mystra comes back, magic returns to how it was, or close enough to before. Lots of gods that were dead come back, including the 3 on this list. Now, obviously, we're going through this in the form of a kind of lore through. We've already encountered a book that has mentioned a group of 3 gods. It hasn't used the name that I've given them, which is the Dead 3, but there is a suggestion here. That's the only other collection of 3 gods that has been mentioned to us thus far. So, the Second Sundering is like... It's interesting because I think this game is based in the 1490s Dale Reckoning, which is the in-universe calendar.
Scribe of the dead. I didn't think anyone still worshipped him.
The events of the Second Sundering ended in the 1480s, which means that we're living in this world where these characters, within their own lifetime, will have lived through a massive metaphysical reset, where the structure of reality, where the different realms that exist, the gods that exist, have completely changed. So things are a little bit volatile within the Forgotten Realms. Like, you can believe in a god and you can be promised this union with them in the ever after. Problem with that, though, is you can't be sure that your god is still going to be around. No problem, Smurf, thanks for joining. You can't even be sure that your god is going to be around by the time that you die. Even if they are, they might not pick you up. They might just leave you there for all eternity. Even after you get picked up, it's possible that your god will go. Like, everything is very much in flux. But we had a bit of a reveal here. So, that's Jurgle, Scribe of the Dead. I didn't think anyone still worshipped him. So let's have a little look. This is a figure. See if I can move my camera to have a look at him. So we've got a kind of skeletal figure here, with some lovely acrylics on. Of course they're metal, but you see what I see. With a long scroll and a quill. So one other thing about Jurgle. His symbol is a skull with a scroll in its mouth. That's his like divine symbol, his holy symbol, which is the style that we saw on the lever upstairs that opened the door. So, we've now found a statue that confirms that this is a space devoted to Jurgle. Jurgle, the original OG god of the dead. He was responsible for recording all the names of those who died. That's why the church records above, on the floor above, had some names and the god and the kind of cause of death. That's why we encountered that book, which told us about the dead gods. This is why this is what's going on here. We're in a Jurgle, in a ruined temple of Jurgle. Now, Jurgle has been around ever since the original. He didn't disappear completely. He became kind of a seneschal in the City of the Dead. So he served Merkel until Merkel was replaced by Kelemvor, the events of which are covered in some of the books, the novels, about the Time of Troubles and stuff like that. But Jurgle has basically been a seneschal, or second in command, a kind of demigod, I guess. Might be a lesser deity, technically, because there's a whole system for that as well, that has served Kelemvor. So Jurgle's still around, he's just not a god. So finding a temple devoted to him, that's strange. and it's not surprising that it's in such a state of disrepair. But we've just found a button, so we're pressing it.
Oh, hell. Something just woke up.
We have a battle.
Can't stay idle.
Right.
Breathe deep.
Charge down here. Oh, Sacred Flame him, I guess, then. Ooh, nice. 8 points of damage. That's the best we can do. I don't think we're going to be able to sneak attack anybody, but if we do a little bonus action dash. Oh, nice. Right. Gale doesn't have any spell slots left, but he can. This poor entombed warrior is just getting absolutely targeted, tunneled, because he's the only one in range. Right. Okay. Well, this is a bit of a problem because our fighter's all the way here, but she's got a bow. She'll make do. Nah, he wants to keep living for a bit. That's fair. Oh, we're blinded. They really love blinding us. Okay. Starian's just gonna use some exploits. Right, we're just gonna healing word ourselves a little bit. We don't have great damaging options at the moment, as we're quite low level. To be fair, one of our cleric cantrip could have been picked slightly better. Okay, we're still blind. Yeah, we can't even do that. Let's just dash and get them threatened. Actually, nah, we're probably going to have to rest after this, so let's just go for it. That sword is incredible. That's all I'm saying about that. Just the absolute love for Fog Cloud. It's a little bit ridiculous. Okay, go there. Oh, he can't do it while threatened. Whoops. Just as good. Right, where's the last one? Oh, over there. We could have positioned ourselves a bit better for this fight, but yeah. Not a problem. Oh, hush. Hush, hush. This is a library. Okay, there we go. So we've killed a few skeletons. Okie dokie. Right. So here we have some interesting things. This is wonderful. Amulet of Lost Voices basically lets you cast Speak with Dead constantly. And that's great because there's lots of ways that Larian have put in interesting elements of interesting ways to use Speak with Dead. You can't talk with every corpse, but there are a lot of them that you can. So we will be nabbing that, and we'll be sticking that on the Archivist. If I remember where it is, there we are. Right. Because the Archivist wants knowledge, and he's going to get it. But there's also a richly adorned sarcophagus, which has been hidden in a secret room in this crumbling temple. Let's check that out.
So he has spoken, and so thou standest before me, right as always. What a curious way to awaken. Now, I have a question for you. What is the worth of a single mortal's life?
The Archivist is quite curious, so he's going to say, "A peaceful undead. Interesting. Why aren't you attacking me?"
Because that would be senseless. Wilt thou answer my question?
Yes, ask away.
So, I ask again, what is the worth of a single mortal life?
So we have a few different ones. So this is interesting. One of the themes of this first kind of first episode, has been death, has been the gods. There's a lot of stuff around this area that has been to do with that theme. So mortals live to die, to be slaughtered. That is something that our dark urge might want to say, but again, we're trying to be good. That's not our values, not this time. Other of these options, for instance, life's only value is as currency. That's kind of the correct answer, really. That's the way that this world works. Life is currency. We've literally seen that in the soul coins. That's the currency of hell. Those are souls. Those are lives that have been tempted into damnation and minted into coins. Coins that are sentient and sapient. You can talk to the people in them. That's one of the things that is established in Descent into Avernus. That is how the world works. It's not necessarily how the world should work. There's a massive ethical problem with that, but life and death has an economy. So mine seems worth little, as my blood calls me to harm others. No one life is worth more than any other. We're all equal. That depends on the person's deeds. What should we go for here? I think we go for a Dark Urge specific one and say, mine seems worth little, as my blood calls me to harm others.
A life and how it is lived are different equations. Very well. I am satisfied. We have met, and I know thy face. We will see each other again at the proper time and place. Farewell.
So, we've met our friend Withers. Oh, there's some nice things in here. Oh, he was buried with a soul coin as well. That's interesting. An arrow of Ilmater, an arrow of Salving, and a bronze ingot. Well, we'll be having those. Oh, what does the plaque say?
Here lies the guardian of tombs. Through knowledge comes atonement.
So Withers is referred to as the guardian of tombs. So Withers is great. As most people who have played this will know, he offers very, very affordable resurrection services. So that book we were talking about, usually it would cost you diamonds, worth loads of money. In this, 200 gold. It's nothing to bring someone back from the dead with Withers. He can only bring back, or seems only willing to bring back, party members though, so you can't use it on NPCs and stuff like that. He's reminiscing. He also allows you to respec, which is wonderful. For the low price of 100 gold, he will allow you to change your character. You can change their class, their subclass, their abilities, everything. But that is the first day of adventuring. So we're going to go to camp, and we are going to actually let's go to the roadside cliffs, and we'll go to camp from here, so we have the more kind of iconic camp set up, as maybe we talk to a few people. So let's end the day. So Lae'zel wants to talk to us, so let's check out that conversation.
A monster forms inside us, and you think to be idle. I knew your kind to be fragile, but I didn't foresee the severity. Be quick about your rest. We must locate a creche.
This creche notion of yours, are you sure it's our only option?
You would doubt me. I do not trust a common healer to extract a gate tadpole without killing its host. At a creche, a gust still may cleanse us safely. Take your rest. I will stand watch. Should a single tentacle split your skull, I will not hesitate to end you.
That little expression. Okay, Lae'zel has some very clear priorities. She is dead set on curing us, and Ceramorphosis doesn't take that long. It's a matter of days before you turn. So she is preoccupied with this. Right, let's talk to Gale.
Go to hell.
And good evening to you, too.
You're a good sport. Go to hell. An everyday expression. So trivial it's almost meaningless. But we've seen hell. It's real. It isn't trivial.
What's on your mind, Gale?
Devils, dragons, mind flayers. They used to be abstracts. Pictures on a piece of paper. What a difference a day makes. Now we have tadpoles slithering through our heads like carnivorous feti. That's not abstract.
Perhaps you should get some rest.
This ballet of flames invites reflection. But you're right. Let's be up with a lark. Find a healer before the wee one gets hungry.
Let's see if the others have anything to say to us. That's quite a nice conversation because of how it communicates to us that there are some... that what we're dealing with is not every day for Forgotten Realms. Like, dragons exist, people know they exist, but you don't see them. Most people go their entire lives without seeing one. Mind flayers, incredibly, incredibly rare. Going to hell, possible, not something you would do as part of your weekly routine.
Do you mind? I'm brooding.
Oh, yeah, Starian's brooding. He doesn't really want to talk to us. Do you have anything important to say, Shadowheart?
Doing the rounds, are you? You'd better get some rest. What were you two talking about?
What do you mean?
You and that Gith Yankee.
We were just discussing the next steps.
I see. I'd be careful with Lae'zel.
You don't trust Lae'zel?
She's not of this world. I'd be surprised if our interests remained aligned. Let's hope we rapidly find a healer. You seem reliable. I think you know how important it is that we find someone who can cure us. Best if we focus on that.
Agreed. The sooner we find someone to help, the better.
Good. We might even get lucky and find one right away. As I see it, we're overdue some good fortune. Rest well.
Okay. So, again, we have some interesting perspectives there. So, there is a kind of xenophobic streak where Shadowheart says, well, Lae'zel isn't from this world, so I don't know if she really is going to care. I don't know if we're going to have matching priorities. Now, that's kind of fair enough in this particular instance, because Lae'zel does not care. As we will learn in more detail, she does not care about the Forgotten Realms. she does not care about Faerun. She doesn't care about Toril even necessarily. She cares about and shares the priorities of her people. And we will learn more about those as we get to know her further. But for now, let's go to bed. And when we do auto-select, it always selects just one or two too many. Let's see. Let's just unselect, and we'll just do this manually, I think. 2 supply packs. 1 supply pack. There we go. Oh, I forgot we're on 40, not 80. And here we are, awake and ready. So, I think we're moving on towards a reasonably good endpoint for this first episode, but I think there is one more thing that I would like to do before we end. And that is to experience one of the next set pieces. What a jaunty little run I have. That's sweet. Alright. This way?
I hear shouting up ahead.
We should check it out, but be careful.
Open the bloody gate! Nobody gets in! Zevlor's orders! That pack of goblins will be on us any second! What's going on? Goblins are on our tail! Open the gate, Zevlor, now! You let goblins here? Where is the druids? Please! There's no time! The 9 hells! Open the gates! Get him! No! Shit! Form of eye! Damnable roach! Provoke the blade! And suffer its sting.
So we get the big set-piece fight outside the gates.
Get to the high ground! Raiders! Smash the bastards! For the absolute!
And this initiative order is not so kind.
Sickle and sword! Strike them down! All round!
Okay, right. Let's see. Oh, I got a critical miss. Well, we've got a portent die, so that's great. Oh, we can also... This is not standard 5th edition rules, but we can shove. Or try. I'm not very strong though, am I? Right, Astarion, however... He can get a nice little sneak attack. Just clear some space in the initiative order. Ooh. Jumping is great in this. Lae'zel just cleaving through him. Right, let's get Gale over here. see. Anyone that we can pray at? Let's pray at Zakrug. Just a little tickle. Let's see. Oh, just a lovely zoom in on his legs. Oh dear, Lae'zel. A little bit more damage. Really heavy-handed overarm throw for something that short, but okay. Nah, we're not protecting Aradin. Oh. Well, Will just healed both of them, isn't that lovely? Let's pray at him. Oh, 2 damage. A bit more of a tickle this time. Oh, gaping wounds is nice though. Right. There we go. Astarion is great at burst damage.
All of you, more may follow. Open the gate.
Okay, so
How much further can I go?
the gate opens, and soon we will find out where it leads. But for now, that is where we will end. So thank you for joining me for the first first episode of my Baldur's Gate 3 lore through, and I hope to see you again in the next one. But until then, keep well, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.